Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of UnMasked, where we delve into people's battles with depression and in the hopes of finding a better place for everybody. And today I have a very special guest, a very close friend of mine, my brother from another mother, Kev Carter. How are you, man?
What's up, Brody?
How you been?
I've been good, man. Just living life. Doing the damn thing.
Nice. Well, we go back, 5 or 6 years now?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that the other day. Literally since I got to LA, basically, which, about 6 years. Can't believe it.
Yeah, well, for those, listening at home, why don't you give them 30 seconds on who is Kev Carter?
Yeah, so who is Kev Carter? From Virginia, lived in New York, LA, lived overseas in Europe for a bit. I currently work in marketing, movie marketing, and prior to this, I was in the Army, total military intelligence. I was a paratrooper. Overall, I'm an extrovert. I love people, love to hear their stories, and beyond that, just try to do my best to be a good person and, productive member of society.
Awesome. Well, let's kind of delve into your history a little bit here. How long have you been? What is your history of depression? What is Kev's battle?
So, I would say overall, it largely comes in waves. It'll come in times, obviously. Times of hardship. It's never been largely protracted depression that I've had, luckily. But as everyone kind of goes through stuff, I have as well. I know when I was younger, definitely had some depression that I think stemmed out a lot of an inability to express myself. I think I was just young and saw grown-ups talking a certain way and wanted to express myself, and then just realized I couldn't. Maybe at that time I was just too dumb or something, so I'd get frustrated, and I think that led to a lot of that, which led out to lashing out, and got in trouble a lot at school when I was younger. And then a lot of my life I've actually been an optimist, and not just blindly optimistic, but just genuinely optimistic, because I live my life in gratitude largely. Though there have been certain points, which obviously I'm sure we'll dive into in a bit, where that just kind of wasn't enough, and shit kind of piles on, because as men we don't really talk about a lot. So I'd say it kind of comes in waves, but when the shit hits, it hits hard.
So how old were you when you first you thought that that there might be something awful, you thought you might actually be depressed?
I don't particularly remember how young I was. I do remember I was put on some type of medication. It wasn't for a long time. It was also I have ADHD and stuff, so I was getting put on Ritalin and all this, and clonidine or whatever the hell it was called. And I know it was all kind of right around that time. So definitely as a elementary school age, young elementary school, is probably my first bout that I remember with depression.
So being in the military, man, thank you for your service. We talk about this a lot, but how much did that affect your mental well-being? Not just being in the military, being away from your friends and family, but also coming out.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack there. So I will just preface this where I'm not a combat veteran. I'm not someone that has seen my brothers and sisters blown up or anything like that. I have a lot of friends that have, unfortunately, but I do want to just preface that, not in any way to diminish what I've gone through. Just I think a lot of times when people hear veterans and depression, that's just where their mind goes, and it's a lot more to it than just that. I think as joining the military, I was someone that grew up in the DC area. Military was always present in my life. The Pentagon was 15 minutes from my house. And then you go in with this, you basically rip open your shirt and just have the American flag banner on your chest. And you're just gung-ho, ready to go. But the realities of the military are a lot more difficult. And also, let me say, I in no way, shape, or form regret my time in the service. I look back upon it, very in a very positive light. But there is a lot to it that is just incredibly difficult. Things like you mentioned, like being away from family, incredibly high operations tempos, so just like constant training. As I mentioned, I was a paratrooper and I was stationed in Europe. I was there 2013 to 2016. So that was like right at the height of ISIS and Russia annexing Crimea. So we were just constantly busy, traveling to a different country and just always away from home. When you are home, it's great. You're eating pasta and drinking wine, but every other moment you're basically have no control of your life. So that alone was quite a bit. And then getting out, I tell people that I was stationed in Europe and Italy, and they're just like, oh, it was so cool. And tell me, let me tell you, it was freaking awesome. But I was over there for about 2.5 years, and you even forget how to be an American when you're gone for that long. Like, you lose your ability to even know things like inside jokes and what's culturally sound at the time. So as someone who's an extrovert, when I got back and went, moved to LA and was just going out, I actually found it kind of difficult to make friends for the first time in my life, which was really difficult for me because I just, I was saying things that were off color. Part of that was military because, you're just more direct. Everyone's shooting the shit, just kind of says their stuff. So part of that was actually like corrective assimilation that I needed. But a lot of it too is literally just not even understanding what was happening in America at the time. So, that's pretty high level, but those are definitely some of the things that I struggled with.
I know, when we first started becoming friends, like you were trying to figure out, like what is your next step, after leaving the military, like what are you going to do for a career? Like how much of an impact on that, no sense of direction had an impact on your mental well-being and, your depression? Like did that play a big part?
Yeah, absolutely. As you're getting out of the military, they do have a lot of like programs and everything to help you reassimilate. In my case, I felt it was a bit more difficult because we had to start that reassimilation process still in Italy. So by the time I was out, like I still had, basically just kind of put in context, in about 2.5 years, I'd only been home for maybe a total of like 15 days, I think. So even just reassimilating and going through all the training, it's still just not the same as being in a place and being able to, get a coffee with a potential future employer, or, just start to reconnect with friends, hug them and all that. Like it's just a different experience. So, I think overall it's just definitely challenging is a way to put it for sure.
I think I remember some of those moments. What do you think the worst part is? This, think about your history with depression and your mental health. What do you think is what was the darkest time for you? What was that? What did that look like?
Darkest time for me was probably like 2017. So I got out of the Army 2016. There was a lot that kind of hit me all at the same time. So, being someone that's a chronic optimist, it literally says it like in my Instagram bio. I was someone that, things are good, like no issues, like we're chilling. But when you do that, like over time, shit just compounds. And, as I was getting out 2016, starting to have issues making friends, that's starting to hit. Not in a career that I loved, that's starting to hit. Left that career, started to go to school, never loved school, so I was glad to go and get my master's and everything, but it wasn't, easy at first. And then some more things hit around winter 2016. I found out my dad had a degenerative condition, so that hit. I was living with a girl at the time. We were starting to have issues, and then all of that kind of hit. as well as close friends kind of around the same time. And basically all that compounded in 2017 and kind of aggregated itself into my lowest point in my life, I think around July 2017. And it was really tough, but one good thing is when you're down that low, the only place to go is up.
Let's so you talk about all these things that are happening in your life all at one time. Like, did you internalize that? Like, how hard was it for you actually, to communicate that struggle to, the people around you, like, your girlfriend, your friends? Like, did you talk to anybody?
Brody, I did what guys do best. I fucking ignored it. Pretended that there's nothing there.
That's what we do.
That's what we do, right? And it totally works out for us. But yeah, I mean, it ain't shit. I'm good. Like, just acting like it's not there, basically, and just trying to look forward. But that stuff behind you, it always catches up.
What about coping mechanisms? Like, was it, was alcohol, anything like that? Like, was it just like beating yourself up? Like, what did that look like?
For me, luckily, I'm pretty blessed where I don't have too much like an addictive personality, I guess you can call it, or so like substance abuse has never really been a huge issue. Substance abuse in the sense of like, I feel like I need to drink to feel better. I need to smoke this J to feel better. Of course, I've done those things. Like, I felt like shit and went out with friends, or felt like shit and took an edible or something, But luckily, I've always been able to just stop if I ever needed to. You did hit on like beating yourself up. That's something that from my lowest point that I learned. That's one of the biggest lessons I learned, because not only was I going through a lot of shit, I was beating myself up because I was going through a lot of shit. Like, I was starting to feel down, all this. Like, I was like, dude, fucking man up. You're good. Like, why are you feeling down? And just really internalizing that, like, beating yourself up. And, it's incredible how much lower you can make yourself just by what you're telling yourself in your head, outside of all the external shit that you're going through. So that was one of the things that really fucked me up. That was one of my biggest takeaways from when I was going through everything. Do you think internalizing this, like, did it push people away? Like, did it? I know obviously it was rough on your relationship with your ex, but do you think it, as a whole, it was just pushed away friends, family? I'd say so. I mean, you're just not there. You're not your best self when you're going through all that. So it's also just harder to connect on people on a deeper level. If you're not really sharing deep shit about yourself, like, people aren't really going to be sharing deep shit to you. And so you're just keeping a lot of stuff surface level, which obviously is not really any way to live. So I would definitely say so.
So this period of time, like, what do you think people misunderstood about what you were going through? I think that's kind of an important thing to talk about with depression. It's like, people just think of it as a, he's just going through a rough patch in his life, or it's, I'm happy with my job or whatever. What is, me personally, being your friend at the time, I kind of had more of an insight. But what do you think people from the outside looking in misunderstood about, what you went through in that period of your life?
I'd say, and this was probably initially partly because of me, but then, just society in general, and I can kind of get a little bit into that, but just almost not fully comprehending how low I was, and from going back to me at first, I just don't think I was expressing that initially. When I did hit rock bottom, though, I think I was, and I did feel like in that moment I really saw who I can really lean on when shit hits the fan, because certain people you tell, it's like, yo, like, I'm fucked up right now, like, I need help, and they're just like, you're good, man, like, you're fine, like, don't worry about it, blah 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 blah. And then you get the friends that really sit down with you and like deep dive into how you're feeling and all that. So it was tough, but I think from outside looking in, people probably just looked at, me and just assumed that I probably just wasn't going through as much. And again, it's probably a lot was my fault, just making it seem like I was all good. Of course, you have things like social media always makes things seem like everything's going all good. I'm not posting all my deep shit on social. But yeah, people probably just didn't even realize like how bad shit was for me at that point.
Yeah. So I mean, what was that moment where like you sat there and think, fuck, I need to do something, I need to get help? Like, what was that moment? What did you do?
Yeah, so that moment for me was July 2017. And that was a really difficult moment because that was the lowest moment of my life, and I had woken up and I can't even describe the way that I felt. I've never felt that way before, since, ever, but in that moment, I just made the decision and plans to take my life. And that was, I think, early July, and I had everything set up and was laying on my bed looking at it. And honestly, what really pulled me out of it was thinking about everyone that it would affect. And got out of my bed, took a picture of the setup, saved it as my favorite so I never forget, and then started calling therapists.
I mean, that's fucking awful. Like, no one should have to, have that running through their mind, like, where they're at the lowest point in their life and they just think this is the only way out. Like, I mean, what was going through your mind at the time? Like, it was like, you thought there was no other alternative? You just wanted something to change? Was it sheer frustration? Like, well, what is that?
It was just fucking end the pain. I think I was just not able to sleep, which, get your sleep, y'all, because not having sleep is just going to make anything worse. And it's not that I wasn't trying to sleep, I just could not sleep. So, I mean, I was like on 2 weeks with like only a few hours of sleep. So it was just hitting me bad. And yeah, I think it's just ended, I won't have to feel this anymore. And just any worst feelings you've ever had times 1,000 in that moment, and that's what's running through your head.
Man, I'm grateful you pulled yourself through that, man. Like,
I'm too.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you sharing that. I mean, obviously it's a hard thing for people to talk about, but I think we need to talk about it. Especially as men too. Like, there's this stigma that if we share, like what's going through our heads, or share that we're going through a rough spot, it's like, it makes us less of a man. Especially in a society now where we don't know what our male identities are in society. It kind of changes on a day-to-day basis, but it's like, like that's, man, it takes a lot of courage to talk about that, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Not a lot of many people know that, but now everyone knows. So fuck it, vulnerability, right?
What have you learned since that moment? Not just about yourself, but how to manage when you're going through these. Let's say you have a shitty day, you have great days, and then you have some days where the weight of the world becomes a bit too much. Like, how do you handle that now?
So, I will say this positive take is I've never gotten remotely close to that ever, before or since. One thing that I immediately did as soon as I was that close and pulled myself out, I found a bunch of digital pictures of family and friends, sent them to this service. They were offering like free first like 20 pictures or something, because I was like a student at that time, was broke as shit. So I was like, perfect. And they printed them out, sent them to me, and I took all of them and just put them right in front of my computer. So while I'm sitting there, I had all my friends and family kind of like, always looking at me and staring at me. And I did that for probably like at least like a year or two. I even moved and I still had them up in the next spot I moved to. Just, no matter what I'm going through, like I can never let all those people down. And so that's how I initially coped with it. Now, just the same stuff that I kind of used prior to that deep low, just leaning on friends, working out. I had to retrain my brain because, as I said, I've always been such an optimist, but I had fallen into such negativity like never before. I really just had to retrain my brain. So every time I had a negative thought, I just would spin it positive every single time. And at first it was like impossible. Like you couldn't tell me shit positive, but luckily I had that prior experience. I was like, no, fucker, you were positive for so long. Like there's a lot of positive in this world. And another path towards that was just like overall just gratitude. Just practicing gratitude in the fact that I'm alive, I'm breathing, I can walk, I can work out, I have friends, like I have a roof over my head, like I have food, just basic level of like gratitude, I think is really helpful in coping when you're at such a low as well. So those things have all helped, and back then in addition to now.
Did you try any sort of more traditional methods back then? Like, did you try therapy? Did you try like online support? Like, what did you try there?
Yeah, let me tell you, I was calling therapists left and right. So I healthcare through the Veterans Affairs office, and people say like good and bad things. I've had middling experiences depending on what exactly I'm looking for. When it comes to mental health, it can be a challenge. As you can imagine, that population is probably a higher propensity of mental health issues than other parts of the population, especially considering at that point we were in the middle of a 2-decade war, or multiple wars. So, just even trying to get into the VA healthcare, they're like, yeah, totally, we'll get you an appointment in like 3 months. And it's like, yo, I'm about to off myself in 3 minutes. Like, so it's just, that was really challenging, but kept searching, and, quick shout out, found a resource called Give an Hour. Fantastic resource. I think at the time they only donated time to veterans, but I think it might have expanded beyond that now. But essentially it's therapists that literally donate their time to people. And went on there and just started calling a bunch of therapists. There's this one therapist, I can't remember her name. She was so sweet, but she just didn't have any time for me. She had like no extra slots, and I was just giving it to her. I was like, I needed help. Like, you're not gonna fucking help me. Like, I need it. And so did try the therapy route. Luckily ended up going to this other lady who was fantastic, helped so much, and literally completely free. Went and saw her for once a week for months. I don't even remember how long exactly, but I can't remember what her going rate was, but it was well over $100 or $200 an hour, and she was giving it all to me for free, based out of Beverly Hills. Office overlooked the entire hills, and I'm like, I cannot believe this lady's giving me her time like this. But out of the goodness of her heart, she did, and she saved me. So I did do I did use traditional resources like therapy as well.
I could definitely say, like, the period between, like, when I saw you, at your worst to, when you came to New Orleans for that crazy weekend in Mardi Gras. There was a big difference there, man. Like it was like two different people.
Yeah.
It was fucking awesome.
Mardi Gras was like my reawakening. Yeah, that was
what a weekend.
Yeah, great times.
So obviously, we talked about like the shittiest parts of like that party life. Like, what is the one positive thing that you didn't expect to come out of that time of your life?
Just growth in general. When you're so low, you can't see the other end of it. But everything you go through in life, teaches you lessons you can grow from. There's a reason why, like, you say like old wise man. You don't say young wise man, because the old guy, he's gone through shit. He's figured stuff out. And I think, like I was saying before, just learning something as I learned a ton, but just learning something as simple as like stop being hard on myself. That was so tough because playing football, I played football in college and all that. Like, you just like work your ass off, work harder, like you can do better, like this isn't enough, blah 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 blah. Then it's in the army, it's like you can do better, it isn't enough, push. And in those type of circumstances, like I think some of that can be a little bit helpful, not beating yourself up, but just like really pushing yourself. But I think I took a lot of that and then just took it to like the negative sense where I was just beating myself up, and I just told myself like, you can never do that again. I saw a great TED Talk by Carol Dweck. Changed my life when it came to education, and it was it's like the power of believing in like not yet, like you're still learning, and it's growth. She all talks about a growth mindset. I think she's out of Stanford University. So prior to me getting my master's, like I was like, oh, I'm horrible at math. I don't fucking know math. Like, I'm a history guy, I'm an English guy, like anything but math. And then, after watching her TED Talk, and she basically just, all empirical backed data and studies that she was just, talking about to prove her point, but essentially like they were just testing like certain groups of kids of just, instead of telling a kid like, oh, you're bad at math, like a teacher would instead be like, oh, you just don't get it quite yet. And like the difference in that child's like development over time was like exponential. So basically looking at stuff like that and then applying it as well to, not being so hard on myself. Like, yes, maybe I shouldn't be thinking about this sad thing for the 800th time today and, this 800th different way. But guess what? Yesterday it was 802 times. So today it's 800, you're on your way, So just changing the mindset a little bit, I think was so freaking valuable to me. And you can still hold yourself accountable, you still push yourself, but you just don't beat yourself up. And lesson wise and coming through all this is positive, definitely things like that.
That's awesome, man. That's really awesome. Okay, so let's say you can give our listeners the opportunity to walk a day in your shoes. Like, what do you want them to learn about your battle?
If you are so low and you're just in it, and if you're as low as I was, instead of maybe thinking about yourself, just try to maybe just consider all the people you would be hurting if you like took your life. Like literally, like imagine like your mom, like your funeral, or like your dad, or like your friends. If you can't pull yourself out of that moment to because you're just being, you're just crushing on yourself, and you're just like, I can't do this. This is, this is it. Just try to, do that, and maybe do what I did, like literally print their pictures out and just like put them in your face. Because I was a student at the time, so I was always on my computer. So literally just seeing them, like it's like I would sit there and tell myself, I was like, you cannot do this to your mother. Like you cannot do this to your dad. Like you cannot do this to your sister. And that's what really helped pull me through. I'm not saying that's going to work for literally everyone. And that's a pretty simplistic strategy, but it worked for me. And I would definitely tell people that, as well as do your best to get out and just kind of, be around friends, be around family, anyone that'll help make you feel good. that's obviously always incredibly helpful. And beyond that, just, practice gratitude and just be thankful for the smallest things that you might have that other people in the world would just, they're sitting, something little that you might have, someone across the world might be praying every night on their bed that they have that thing. So just find those things and just practice gratitude and just appreciate that we're all on this floating rock going 400,000 plus miles an hour to who the hell knows where. And let's just enjoy life while we're here, and what we have is really special.
That's some good advice. I mean, it's scary. You think about how fast we're actually traveling through the universe.
It makes no sense. Advice. Where are we going, bro? We've just been going for billions of years. Where is the end? I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't even know what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. But right. the universe, man, I got nothing. And so, what's next for you, man? Like, where are you going from here? Just continue to grow, man. I think, what am I? I'm 31 now. I think it's important to just keep growing. It's important to just keep learning. I have grown a lot since 2017, but 31-year-old Kevin is still going to be so stunted from 32-year-old Kevin, 33-year-old Kevin, 31 and 8 months Kevin, Yeah.
So just continuing to grow and just be the best version of myself that can. I still have my quirks and things that I need to work on, and I'm in no way, shape, or form perfect. But mental health wise, just continue to grow and do more stuff like this. Like, be open. Like, I was talking to you. This is totally new for me. I don't do shit like this. Like, a lot of the stuff I've already shared is just not stuff that people outside of even my most innermost circle have ever heard. So, destigmatizing these type of conversations, especially amongst men, normalizing them, that's something that I'm definitely passionate about, and also looking to just surround myself with people that have those same ideas, because something else I learned coming through all this is facing your shit is the brave thing to do. Putting it behind you, acting like it's nothing, that's not brave. Like, that's some weak body shit. Like, face it, man up, and move on, and that's something that I realized too. I thought, I was being a hard motherfucker, acting like I was always good, but in reality, I was a scared motherfucker. I was scared of feelings and emotions, and being brave is facing that shit. Just like, I could jump out of a goddamn plane, but I couldn't listen to my own freaking emotions. It's like, it made no sense. So, I think all in all, just continuing along that path and just trying to be the best version of myself, and hopefully not too much of a nuisance to those around me.
I mean, you're never a nuisance to me, man. Like, I enjoy our catch-ups, but Kev, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. What you talked about, like, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of balls to, and you're setting a good example for a lot of people out there. So really appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, man. I'm always here.
I'm always here for you too.
And for those of you out there that are having going through a bad time, having a shitty day, just talk to somebody. Like, reach out to a friend, family member, a therapist. Fucking DM me on social media. Like, I'll talk to you. So, there's always someone there willing to listen, and you're not alone. So, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks, Kev.
Thank you.